Previously on the Whitehorn experience. This hopefully means that Coil will finally get a third trial, and I'm happy for the Coil fans if that turns out to be true.
Many months later.
You cannot imagine how long I've been waiting.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally arrived. Leland Coil has gotten a third trial. Season 7 has arrived in the Outlast Trials and it kicks things off with a bang, because we have finally received the third Coil trial!
Anything's possible! Anything's possible!
And with it, we finally have balance again between the prime assets. It might have taken them over 2 years, but they did it. And what about the MKs? A TV studio MK and a Coil MK?
You hear? And
That's what I call satisfying content. And let's not forget the new enemy specialist, the Biter, and with a new catalog. Done, let's move on. This season also introduces the Blood Drive event. An event that will be over real soon for 2 reasons. 1, we're with a lot of players, and 2, they put the most grindable MK on the list of trials. But hey, I'll take the cosmetics I guess. Now to start things off, let's go over the new Coil trial. So the new Coil trial takes place inside a prison. How original. They put the word farm behind it, but that's like one part of the map, but hey, I get it. They had to make it somewhat original. We can all get suburbs and orphanages. But the environment itself is really impressive. The contraband mechanic is a fun addition, and previous map sections get reused in a clever way. We even get a Coil prime asset moment in this one where he's
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
One gripe I have on our first run was that we didn't really understand what to do at first, because the game was less handholdy than usual. Most of our time spent in this trial was just running around in circles, but after a long while, we figured things out, just like Red Bells intended. Another thing that was different is that I finally got all the boys together for this one, which meant that the trial was now adjusted to 4 players. Something that I only experienced all the way back in early access. How nostalgic. But the tasks, after we figured out what to do at least, were simple but fun. Shredding pig heads, messing with valves, trying not to die. All a grand old time. And I got to say that this trial has the most fun execution in the game, no doubt about it. Might be more serious for solo players.
So my envy is a calling. It is the sole hope for humanity, because it is what has driven me to annihilating you. 1A! 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 1A!
But remember, I'm not playing this solo, I'm playing this with 3 friends.
Is dit prison treatment in betere wereld?
Degene die beslist heeft dat er geen digital copies meer zijn.
Voilà.
Fuck you, PlayStation!
Ik wil physical shit hoor!
The runback is also quite unique because the time starts immediately after the warden is dead. It's not new for MKs, but it's a first for the main trials. And as expected during Primetime 3, this time we got a Coil document. But the way I learned about its existence is another matter. So I found out about the secret room not because I checked the evidence files, not because I guessed it would be in this update, but because we found the key for the room. By accident.
Ik blijf moeten ook al eens niet meer nodig, just
We say when we're done. I didn't stutter, did I?
Get his ass!
He still ain't dead enough.
Yeah, I grabbed the key out of the warden by accident. Didn't even know it was there. So I went in again to get it, but turns out that you really have to keep hitting him for a while for the key to spawn in. And then there was another matter. Where does this key even go? So after wasting an hour of my life spitballing shit, I just looked it up because I ain't nobody got time for that, and it turns out that it was just stuck in a corner somewhere. So yeah, I should have been able to find it, so if you want to give me shit about it, go ahead. Cole's thoughts in his notes are more interesting than Baba Yaga because at least it isn't poetry. And he definitely needs to learn how to spell, dear God. So let's go over the MKs. Brab the Judges is a fun and simple MK in my book. Crank the gen, deliver the right suitcase to the right judge, and done. It's also refreshing to see a new map variation of the courthouse instead of the usual copy-paste stuff, but Cancel the Broadcast is literally the opposite. Never was I so bored whilst playing an MK than this. If I didn't catch the hint that I needed to look out for white paint, then I could have been searching for far longer. But I gotta give credit where it's due, it does force you to explore all of the zones, which includes the new roof area. So I gotta give it that. But I myself hope that they would reuse the studio dressing mechanic. You know, the fun one. And I don't really have anything to say about the other game modes. Escalation will always be my grind mule, and Invasion will always be fun as long as I'm winning and if I ever find a match. Alright, what's next? Hey, you guys want to know something funny? After all my whining, I decided to just face the music and dive into the slop head on, so that all of you can sleep peacefully and not grind this bullshit. So I thought I would prepare for it this time. And now, they only released 5 newspapers instead of 10. Oh no, that's not the funny part. The funny part is that I discovered that there is a token cap of 1,000! You gotta be kidding me! You shit out all of this slop, you make these bullshit trophies for releasing 100 reagents, but you make a token cap for only 1,000! I'm losing it! Make it make sense! Make it make sense! Make it make sense! So the first newspaper covers the crash of a military plane that carried an H-bomb. Now, nothing in our training covers such a subject, but there is another newspaper that covers an uprising against military forces. Something that we just learned to do in Lockstock the Warden, but then in another context. What I mean to say is that we now meddle in military affairs that are much bigger than any of our previous shenanigans. Maybe the agency is taking much bigger risks after the failed base of Pig invasion. And speaking of which, we got a newspaper where Kennedy is suspected of communications with Castro, their enemy and a previous target that we failed to kill back in the Cuba ending. And we also help a senator who has ties to the mob get re-elected, basically get out the vote in a nutshell. But here is Kennedy again, popping up everywhere. Very sus, just saying. And the final newspaper is about how we possibly framed a Belgian-Canadian immigrant that was tied to an extremist group. Not really sure what we did here, but it is weird that Belgium keeps getting mentioned in this game. I mean, 90% of the world doesn't even know that we exist. And then there is a new bunch of evidence files that are quite interesting. Files that date back to 1957, where Lawler talks about a character called the General. Now, there is a high, very high chance that this is Whitehorn. Now, why do I think this? I know it sounds pretty cheap to jump to the conclusion that any new male prime asset character could be Whitehorn.
Excuse me. But
the second file is called Calling All Patriots. And what is the one trait that we know of Whitehorn? Well, one of his traits. One of his few traits is that we know, thanks to the fandom wiki that would never lie to us, that he is a patriot. And Whitehorn himself looks old enough that he could have fought in both wars. So that could be a reason for it. And the pamphlet with this message was found in Cole's home back in 1951. And what is the most common complaint when it comes to Whitehorn? that he's too similar to Coil because they share a disdain towards communists and that they are both patriots. And not only that, but let's check the dates. The flyer was found after they took Coil in 1951. They observed the general until 1957 and then made their move probably. And Leif 1 collapsed in 1958. The timeline fits. And also makes sense why we haven't seen this general yet. Because if it's Whitehorn, then that is because he got sick. I don't see them putting someone with that nickname in R&D like with the Cresses. It is also very interesting that the term slant drilling is used in the pamphlet. A drilling technique for oil. Now, who was it that owned an oil company again? Whitehorn. But I can hear you thinking, why would they call him the General? Well, there would be one simple answer to that question. We simply don't know yet because they never showed us his backstory. But to throw my idea in the ring, what if Whitehorn's company supplied the US Army during the war? Tanks and cars need fuel, right? What if Whitehorn joined the army in World War I, probably in his 20s, got a high position thanks to his background in the First War, then they promoted him to general during the Second War. This is all a theory of course, and this general could be a new character, but these two documents have the most "this is Whitehorn" energy I have ever seen. It could fit with his character, the timeline matches up, and if this isn't Whitehorn, then we might as well accept that he's never coming to the game, because this is our best shot. So make your sacrifices, say your prayer to the Wall Rider, because I am more convinced than ever at this point. And you know what they say, the harder you hope, the harder you fall. So join me, my fellow lunatics, for the final stretch of our crusade. And that crusade will end, one way or the other. So yeah, I got nothing else to say. Good trial, okay MKs, great season. 7 out of 10, too much bone. Good night, fellas.